I really enjoyed the 50th anniversary special. I really did. I thought it got off to kind of a shaky start, but ultimately I think that it pulled together and delivered a very emotional and satisfying way of celebrating the history of the program. Lots of great cameos and things. The plot was a bit convoluted, but altogether I think it came together. Altogether. John Hurt fulfilled his part magnificently for who his character is supposed to be. This bedraggled doctor in the middle of a war. He's got these sad eyes and this great facial hair. With every scene he's in, you get the feeling of a tired old man desperately trying to reconcile the weight of the world on his shoulders. This forlorn melancholy. So, no complaints there. I think that Moffat, yeah, I don't know, he's a little in love with writing the Doctor a certain way. He likes for the Doctor to be a sort of clownish, buffoonish character, making dumb mistakes. For the record, I knew that the Zygon was the horse right off the bat. It was like, I was pointing, the horse is the Zygon, the horse is the Zygon, the horse is the Zygon, oh wow, the horse is the Zygon. Well, never mind. I I don't think that Moffat writes comedy quite as well as he thinks he does. Uh, this special got better when it got more serious. That was when it really began to take off. Um, and then things came to a head. At first, and this is spoilers, of course, I was kind of upset that they seemed to be saving Gallifrey, because I always thought that the destruction of the Doctor's home world and the Time War was a great plot element, and to think that they're undoing that, they're pressing the reboot button and bringing Gallifrey back, I thought that was a little bit cheap, but the way they did it, bringing all the Doctors together to complete this great coup that the Doctor has orchestrated throughout all his lives, I thought it worked. And now I'm kind of interested to see where we go next. But there is something left behind from this special, which has reared its ugly head. Is John Hurt's Doctor the Ninth Doctor? Well, right off the bat, I was in the yes camp. I was like, yes, of course, obviously he is. I mean, you can't just say that he just doesn't call himself the Doctor, so he's not the Doctor, because it's established that subconsciously he identifies himself as the Doctor when he meets with this psychic interface, and everyone else calls him the Doctor, his other selves call him the Doctor, finally he acknowledges himself as the Doctor, he is the Doctor. Alright? So I was like, why isn't he the Ninth Doctor? Of course he's the Ninth Doctor. So that's the camp that I'm in, but I've become aware of a different school of thought, and these form the two sides of this argument, and both sides deserve to be acknowledged, because the more I think about them, the more respect I have for the opposing side. There are people who look at the show as a production. They class these things in terms of actors. The Ninth Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston, he's still the Ninth Doctor because he was the ninth actor to play the character. Matt Smith is still the 11th Doctor because he was the 11th character version of the character, the 11th guy to be the Doctor. And you know what? This is valid. It's a perfectly reasonable way to think about things, perfectly practical. Other people, though, like me, tend to think of the numbering of the Doctors as a thematic element within the lore of the show itself. The first Doctor, the second Doctor, the third Doctor, and so forth, all the way up. We think of these as very potent nuances, and the writer of the show, the head of it right now, Stephen Moffat, has gone on record as saying that the numbering has not changed, even though John Hurt's Doctor, who has just been introduced recently, was a past Doctor that we didn't know about. His rationale is that the Doctor doesn't label himself, even though he has numbered himself several times. He's saying that we should just go on, keep the numbering like it is, and John Hurt's Doctor is kind of an anomaly. He wasn't. I mean, I've seen the episode. There was nothing really all that anomalous about him. There have been other Doctors who've done morally questionable things. The Sixth Doctor almost killed his companions, and he was generally a jerk. The Seventh Doctor was also dark and manipulative, and if I say that I'm not Joe England, and I say, well, I shouldn't be Joe England, gosh darn it, I'm still Joe England. So I really don't think that holds water. Now, I don't know the man for certain, but my gut tells me that this is a decision that is being mandated by merchandise. They don't want to change the paperwork and the products that have been produced, which list Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor and David Tennant as the 10th. So they're trying to make it so that John Hurt's Doctor isn't like officially the 9th Doctor, even though he is clearly. The whole episode is basically around about this one Doctor's path to actualization, realizing that he himself is a doctor. But what it comes down to is we've got these two camps. There are the people who want to think of him as just the War Doctor, which is their term for this character who's not a numbered doctor, and they want to keep the last 4 or 5 doctors numbered the same. You know, Christopher Eccleston as the 9th, David Tennant as the 10th, Matt Smith is the 11th, simply because this is the way it's always been. They don't want to have to change the way they think of these guys, their numbers, and that's valid because, you know, that's the order in which the actors played the role. But, you know, then there's the other guys who insist that, well, John Hurt is the 9th Doctor. That's just the way it is. We've always numbered the doctors by regeneration, so why shouldn't he be the 9th Doctor? We can handle a little bit of reshuffling, can't we? Well, apparently we can't. It's a bit of a sticky wicket, as they say in England. Do they say that in England? Whatever they say. This is a problem that's never been had before, because up till now, the actors and the regenerations have always lined up. But now we've got this division. Well, I've told you which camp I'm in. I would much rather that John Hurt be simply considered the 9th Doctor, and we go out on a limb and just reshuffle the ordering, you know, change a few cards, I guess. But I can appreciate how that would be complicated and even a violation of some fond memories because of some people who are fond of their numbered doctors. What we need is a compromise. Maybe we can identify the doctors by an attribute instead of a number from now on, like a hair color, or shoe size, or height, or something. We can't use the actor's name because this needs to be something that works both on the show level, you know, on the level of the story that the show is telling, and on a greater level, as in the world surrounding the show, you know, that's being produced. Maybe by their costumes or something. It might take us a while to settle on something. But in the meantime, I would like to suggest this compromise, and I think that everybody can agree on this. Peter Capaldi is the 13th Doctor. He's going to be the next guy to play the Doctor. Now, at the end of this 50th anniversary show, which was great, by the way, I loved it. I would talk about it more, but I only have so much time before YouTube shuts me off. The 11th Doctor acknowledges his past. He's been ashamed of John Hurt's Doctor all this time, but with this great plan that they succeeded in doing, saving Gallifrey, he acknowledges that he was a doctor, that he was a part of him. And there's this dream sequence where he stands with all the other doctors, and he's right next to John Hurt's Doctor. So, from this point forward, would the 11th Doctor consider himself the 11th Doctor? No, he wouldn't. He would call himself the 12th Doctor. Of course he would, right? And Peter Capaldi will be the 13th actor to play the part. Because now that John Hurt's in the lineup, however you want to shuffle it, Peter Capaldi will be the 13th. So why don't we just agree that Peter Capaldi can be the 13th Doctor? I mean, there hasn't been much merchandise yet. We can make that happen, right? For God's sake, I can stand for this issue to be shunted into the past, like the Time War. The conflict will be contained between the 8th Doctor and the 13th Doctor. And just moving forward, we can all agree that Peter Capaldi is the 13th Doctor. Can we all agree on this, please? This is exactly the sort of thing that geeks kill over. That's my idea, and I think we ought to give it a shot.